Hi, welcome. This is Ken Jake. We're going to show you how to take the steering wheel out of a 2024 GMC Ultimate Denali and replace it with one that's out of my 2020 that had a lot thicker, rounder steering wheel. This 2024 has got a weird steering wheel. It's kind of oblong. It's got a ridge right there where my thumb is, and it's very uncomfortable to drive with. It's a little bit narrower steering wheel, so it's I don't know why GM decided to do that in their trucks, but I'm going to go back to what I had in my 2020 Denali. It's a lot thicker steering wheel, more round. It's a lot more comfortable to hold in your hand. So stay with me as we do this. The first thing I did was disconnected the, let me turn this around, disconnected the batteries. I just took the negative terminals off both sides over there, that side and that side, so we got that done. Then we're popping these little covers off here, off the sides of the steering wheel where the airbag is, and there's a 10mm bolt in there that will loosen the airbag to get them off. So these little covers are on both sides. As the new GMs are a lot easier to handle taking the airbags off than the old ones were. So we'll let the batteries discharge a little bit here and let it sit before we try taking the airbag off. All right, come back here in a little bit. All right, here's what the airbag looks like once I've taken it loose and flipped it over on its side. And here's what the new steering wheel looks like. So you can see that the plugs are the same, and that plug there, so we'll just let that sit for a little bit, then I'm going to take and disconnect those. All right, and then as far as taking the steering wheel, once I get the airbag out of the way, then I just got to take that off right there. All right, and take all the other wires that are loose inside there that connected all the controls. All right, so it's not that hard to do. All right, so taking the airbag off, I pulled this red thing back there, and then I was able to squeeze down on top there and pop that off. Then on the sides, you got to bring those orange clips all the way up to the top to pull it off, and it's kind of hard. I'm using a plastic tool here to help me a little bit. So anyway, I got the first one off, then the second one off. You just got to pull up those orange tabs on both sides and be very careful, and just wiggle a little bit, and then it'll pop right off. Okay, we got the nut off there now. It was Loctited on there, but it came off okay. Just had to not give up on it. And you gotta, on the plug up there, you gotta pull this little red thing out here to unplug the, so you can unplug that wiring harness or plug-in up there. And so let me wiggle that thing out, and then we should be able to pull the steering wheel off. Also right there, make sure that you line up your marks again. You pay attention to this and take pictures if you are taking it apart, so you remember, which I took a picture of that too, but that's pretty self-explanatory right there. When you put the steering wheel back on, just make sure you put it back on the same place. On that plug, see that little yellow thing right there? Underneath the red, you got to push that up too, and then it pulls right out. And here we are. There's what it looks like. Looks like on the back side. So now I'm going to take some of these plastic pieces apart here and see if I can take this trim off piece right there so I can keep that on my Denali Ultimate. Alright, so we have both steering wheels here, and the new one and the old one. This is the new one. It's got a little bit thicker, a little bit rounder where we put the hands out of my 2020, which I like. So, but I'm going to take this trim piece off here and take one from the Ultimate right here on there and switch it out. So I'm taking the screws out right now. I'm going to be switching it around, and we'll see how that goes. All right, once you get the steering wheel cover off the back here, there's some clips. You know, you can take out 2 more screws there, 2 more right there that I already took out, which are those screws there. You can see them right there, and then right there, and then you just unhook the wires from behind there, and then I can swap out the centerpiece of that Ultimate with this one here, which is out of the 2020. So on the back side here, the way you pull these clips out, there's a red thing that you pull all the way out, and then you can push the gray tab right there by my thumb. You pull the red tab out, then you can push that in, you can pull that out behind here. So then I can keep my same controls and these obviously are the same, or I wouldn't be switching the steering wheel out. So everything should interchange, all the plugins and everything. So when you do a steering wheel switch, you got to make sure that it's the same style, this is the same, the controls are the same. Otherwise it's not going to work. So anyway, you can see the pronounced edge on this steering wheel that I didn't like, and a little bit more rounded, a little bit thicker steering wheel here on a 2020 that I'm used to, that I put 44,000 miles on and didn't notice it. It was just really nice. As soon as I got in this 24 Ultimate, this edge started digging into my hand. It's just not comfortable to drive, even though it's probably a little bit better quality leather. But I'll keep this leather here oiled up, and it'll be good enough. I liked it in my other truck, and I'll like it again. So anyway, I'm glad that I could switch out the trim. I was gonna just put this in there, which if you didn't care, you could just put it in there, but that's got a carbon fiber look to it a little bit. So I wanted to keep the insides the same. All right, now that we got the back piece off here, you got to pull up your controls here, and there's little screws right here that you got to take out on both sides. And then also take these controls off here. You just pull that plastic piece out. Right there, you just pull it out and then push down on the plastic piece behind it. So there's a little white thing here. You just slide it out, and then you can push the gray piece right in right there, and that wire just pops right out. So I'm saving them. This is a little bit different. I don't know if the plug-in is different, but I'm making sure I'm saving side to side to make sure I put it back the same way. Alright, so here's another video of the steering wheel. That wire there snaps into those two little things on the bottom wire. It goes underneath that, and the whole thing just snaps right into place on the back cover here. So now I'm putting in these two screws here, and these here, these two up here. I started them, and right there. So everything snapped right into place, and we got this project almost done. So I'm going to tighten them all up, and then we'll set it back in the truck. Okay, I got the steering wheel back in place. I lined up those two marks right there again. Alright, and now I'm going to take and in fact, my steering wheel is slightly off to the left, so I don't know if that makes a difference to splines, but I still lined it up because that's where it's supposed to be. And anyway, I slid right in there, and I popped the yellow wiring harness in there. All that lined right up. Otherwise, if I probably had to do this over again, I would have just swapped all the internal wiring harness pieces out of the steering wheel too, just to make sure everything's going to work. But it should. It's same generation, same. I mean, a 20 to a 24. Hopefully, all the controls were the same. So time will tell. I'll get the airbag back to get the bolt tightened up here, and I'll check the torque spec on that, and then also get the airbag back on. And I took pictures of that to make sure I got the right one on the right side. There's two plug-ins there, and we'll hook the batteries up and see if everything works. Alright, so the torque spec is 29. So I set my torque wrench to 29, and it's done. So now we're going to take this off, and if you want to know what bit that is, that's a T50. Yep, that's a T50. That's what goes in there. So now we're gonna set the airbag back in there and hook it up, and then we're done. I'll test everything and give you a report how it works. All right, so the airbag is connected, and they're color coded. The plugins are color coded, so you can't screw that up. And before I push it in, there's a little tabs here that you need to push that back in place, which I did. This one is still out of place. I don't know if you can see it there, but I'm going to take and push it in place up here where it goes in a little hole, and then that tucks these wires up out of the way. Then we'll set the airbag in there and tighten it up. Alright, we got everything running here. Everything seems to work okay. I don't have any tire pressure readings yet, but I imagine I got to test drive it first. But all the controls work like that. So that side, the right side works. It's hard to tell if the left side works, but the heated steering wheel works. Heats up. And I won't be able to tell if the cruise control buttons work until I take it for a test drive. So we'll just have to go from there. And I'll let you know how that is, but it's raining out the right side right now, so I don't want to take it out in the rain because I have the truck all waxed up. So I'll give you a report at the end, but it looks like everything's working. And that's how you swap the steering wheel out. This one's a little bit bigger around and doesn't have such an edge up here where that digs into your hand. It's a little bit more comfortable. It's not that bad to do. Steering wheel, I think it was a little over $150 is all it was from my GM parts guy. So it's not like it's a big expense either. So it's not that hard to do. All the lights are working too. I can see the backlit lights in there. All right, that's the project, and thanks for watching. All right, to wrap up the video, I've got everything back together, and the cruise control didn't work, so I had to take it all apart again, which didn't take very long because I was just used to doing it. But you got it when you swap out the steering wheel, like I swapped out with the 2020 HD 3500 Denali. You also have to swap out the wiring harness. So the wiring harness inside the steering wheel is what I'm talking about. So that way the controls here are set up for, this one's got high idle option, and the other one, the cruise control, didn't work because this one's got adaptive cruise. So even though the same prongs were in there, the plugins were different. So if you have plugins that are different, that's your first clue that you need to swap out the internal steering wheel harness too, and to make sure that everything is going to work like it's supposed to. So I did that, and everything's working like it's supposed to. You can see the cruise control thing up there in the corner. It tried to ask me if I wanted to go adaptive cruise or not, a regular cruise. So everything is working. So that's a wrap. Just make sure you swap out the steering wheel harness too when you do it, and everything will work out. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and just keep a positive attitude that you can do these things. All right, bye-bye.